we're back at it with the odd jobs. Today's odd job, we're gonna fit an 80-inch bifold closet door into a 75-inch opening. So, you gotta do what you gotta do. We were considering making the opening larger, but when you're looking down the hallway, let's have a look at this. The door heights here between this bathroom here and the closet here would look really odd if we made this one higher without making that one higher. And nobody seems keen on the idea of going through massive reconstruction to change the height of the doors, because all the doors in this place are all at the same height, 75 inches. Ideally, you want to keep the heights of the doors at around 80 inches. But in a loft situation like this, you don't have much of a choice because we just don't have the high ceilings. So I'm going to get a bunch of tools together and we're going to prep this opening to receive the door, and then put the framework back into the doors. So stay tuned. If anything, it's going to be unusual. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this excess trim because it's going to affect how the door closes. So we're just going to pop this off. It looks like it's just a little molding here. Narrow door stop. Like anything, when I do demolition, I like to keep things in one piece. Now, this trim here is hangs down a little bit here. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try and cut and notch that right out, because I know it's going to interfere with the door. I just had that feeling. So I want to keep this height the same, so moving this up wouldn't serve me any purpose. So I'm going to remove it for now, and then after the door is on, I'll rip it on the saw at that height. Looking for my trusty knife. It's not me. There's some caulking here, so I want to cut that away so that I don't end up chipping any wood, because caulking holds on just as well as screws do. See if I can get my pry bar there. There we go. I like when things come apart relatively easy. Okay, so now I got solid framework to work with. Let's take a measurement here of the opening. It says it's 77 7/8. So I'm gonna write that down right here. 77 7/8. So that when we go here to the door, we can see that this says fits finished opening 24 inches by 80 1/4 to 80 3/4. So I'm going to do a bit of math here. So 1.5. So 1.5 inches. So if I take 77 7/8 and minus 1.5 inches, we're going to come up with 76 3/8. And that's what I have to cut my door at, 76 3/8 inch to fit a 77 7/8 opening. So my next step is going to be to cut this door at 76 3/8 inch. So let's get set up to do that. Okay, first things first, the bottom of the door. Always cut the door on the bottom. Don't cut the door on the top. The reason being is that the hinge height that's set from the top always is closer to the top than the hinge is to the bottom. So we want to hold on to that. And secondly, the door just looks really weird when the top is cut. So we're going to set that down there, and we're going to measure out our 76 3/8. and 3/8. So I'm not cutting as much off as I thought I would, but it's still a significant amount. I'm going to cut both panels in one fell swoop here. And I'm using a T-square, and I'm doing that so that I can create a straight line across. Now the tolerances give me a 1/4 inch each way, so that's okay. If I can cut a straight line with a skill saw, I'll do just fine. This ended up being my my cutting area for this kind of stuff. When you're cutting on the floor, always be careful that you're not going to cut the floor. So always set your height gauge on your saw, so that you're going to go through the material without penetrating the floor. Just be smart. Now, mind my back. I'm going to make a cut. This is what happens when you cut off the bottom of the door. You actually take the frame of the door off with it. Now this piece here, we need this piece because this hole is for our pin, our hinge pin on the one side of the door. So if it comes apart easily, which sometimes they do, then you can reuse the piece. I'm going to reuse that piece. So that's good. And if the other side works out okay, okay. So I'm just prying them apart. Like that. Now, I got to clean up a little bit here because we can see some of the material is stay glued there. Don't think it's going to make a huge difference on the bottom of the door. because we are going to glue it back in. If you have the time, which a lot of contractors don't, guys like me, but if you have the time, glue it, clamp it, leave it there, and then come back to it the next day. But I don't, so I'm gonna do, I'm gonna glue it, and then I'm gonna brad nail it, so I can get ahead of myself here. So I'm in here, I'm looking at these pieces, and I'm gonna be putting that piece back in here. When I look at this, and sometimes this happens, you know, one piece is a little beat up, and this is the one we don't want to use. Now on the bottom, you're going to have a pin, and you have to decide where your hinge side is going to be. Now, I want my hinge side to be over here, so I have to have the hole there. Now to speed things along, I'm going to put this pin into the wood before I glue it in. The reason being is that if I have to hammer this in, once I glue it in there, I'll end up beating the heck out of this. So I'm going to push this one in. They're supposed to just push in, but it just seems to be a bit easier doing it that way. And there, so the pin's in. And I'm going to set that back in here with some glue, and I'm going to tap, tap, tap it into place. So I got some glue here. And I'm going to put just a little line of glue inside. I don't mind if it smears inside, it's going to be inside. Right? So in there it goes. Right, I'm going to get just a scrap piece of wood just to spread it around in there. And then this piece here, I'm going to slide back in. Give it a little bit of a tap. And make it flush. Enough to flush. Now because I'm in a bit of a hurry and I want this done today, I don't have the time to set up the glue. So I'm just going to put a couple of brad nails here in the end, so that when I'm hanging the door, it's going to have something solid to hold on to. Okay, and I'm going to do the same to the other side, and then we're going to brad nail it all back together. And I'll hang it. I'm using PL Premium, but the truth is, any glue is good glue. So as long as there's glue in there, it's all good. Now the benefit about construction adhesive is that unlike wood glue, it will stick almost anything, from plastics and composites to wood and concrete. So if you put in a wood glue in there, and the material isn't wood, it's not going to stick to it. Most glues are designed to glue-like materials. Construction adhesive will adhere different types of materials together. I'm just going to put a couple brad nails on this end here there too. Maybe I'm too confident. I'm going to go over and size it. Okay, so we bring our door over. I'm going to set it into place, and we've got about 3/4 of an inch top to the bottom. So I'm going to put my track in on the top. Okay, so the track, it's got a pin side and then a non-pin side. That's this side here for the pin. That's the hinge side. And I decided I'm going to have the hinge side over there. I'm just going to set this here in there. Fortunately, it all fits. Now I'm going to set it in so that it's about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch inside the framework. Not the trim, but the framework. And Americans still haven't figured out the benefits of Robertson screws and keep giving us Phillips head screws, which are a little difficult to start because the screwdriver doesn't really hold the screw where Robertson does. Come on, you Americans. You want to be the best, you gotta be the best. You gotta use the best if you're gonna be the best. So, American manufacturers pay the license fee. And use a Robertson screw. Okay, one more screw is gonna hold that. Okay, that's it. Top piece is in. And we're going to look toward the bottom. So this is the piece that they give you on the bottom. And this is going to hold the pin, the one that I hammered into the bottom. And this is all slotted, so you'll be able to move it, and it's going to hold its position because it's going to lock itself in there. So let's screw this into place. And again, over here, I'm going to try and set that in so that this here piece of the track is going to line up with that. And I'm going to screw one into the frame. And that's what I'm thinking. Now, there's a screw hole here in the bottom as well. And what I've noticed that is come away from the floor a bit. So, that's going to make me want to put a screw through the floor. And that's going to hold that secure. So now it's time for assembly. There's a number of pins that we have to put in. We're going to start up here on the top. And I put my hinge side down, which is good. This one here is on the hinge side. So it's going to go here, which when I'm looking down the length of it, is going to line up to the other now. You have to be careful if you have to hammer these ones in, because if you hit it too hard, you'll actually punch this all the way through. So we just have to be real careful. So when you're hammering this one in, my recommendation is that you press it in as far as you can by hand. Then you get a piece of wood and you actually press the wood against the plastic part, not against the metal part, because you'll knock that spring right out. Gently tap that in. having a lot of luck there. You have to. Okay, that was reasonably successful. And then the roller part goes on as well, on the opposite hole. So I'm going to do the same trick. I'm going to put a piece of wood and I'm going to compress it in so that we don't bounce it back and forth. And all that works pretty good. Okay. Let's set that one in. When you're putting these in, start at the bottom. And down here on the bottom, you're going to screw this pin into the plug that's put in there. And it just threads in. So once you have this bottom piece screwed in, it's going to go on top of this this hinge that goes on the bottom. So we're going to just set it in there. Not too worried about the spacing yet. We can change that if we have to. Then I'm going to lean out the door a bit and I'm going to get it into the track. And then you can actually pull it down until it lines up in the hole. That worked out not too bad. Okay, so I dropped the screw here somewhere. See if I can locate it. Let's see if yeah. Now this will eventually close up. Now it's a bit tight here. But I can move the hinge over a bit. Last thing I want to do is rip the door along the length because they're really not designed for that. So working with the spacing here. It's actually kind of cozy in here. Up on the top, there's the hinge that goes up on the top. There's an actual screw there that will tighten up and hold it in the position that you want it to be. So we're going to secure that. So that looks good. And I'm eyeing up the space between the door and the frame so I can move it over. Then I see that the top is binding, so we'll loosen it off just a bit here. So that it's going to clear on the way. You make the slightest adjustment. Binding on the top again. See if the door actually closes. That's amazing. So our door is in. We have a little bit of rubbing on the floor, but that's not the only thing I can do to fix that is if I take this track that's up here at the top and I push it in, and that's going to bring the plumbness of the door, because I can see that at the bottom the door is sitting a bit on an angle like this. So let's see if we can move that without taking the door off, because the door is in the right position right now. So I'm going to take out all these screws but one of them. I don't remember that, how it is. Alright. And I'm going to move it over a bit. I'll put another screw up there. And I'll just shim it over a bit. Doesn't take much. Okay. It looks like you're going to have to take out the door anyway. But that's okay. Went in easy enough the first time. So up the top, pull it off the bottom, and pull it out. This is the key. We don't want to move this piece, because that's set at the height, or the distance that prevents the door from binding. So by moving this over, it'll help the door clear the bottom. Put this back in the way that we took it out. Easy way. Put the top up. Put that pin in the hole. Lift it up and swing it in. The door binds a bit on the bottom. I'm going to pull the bottom out from there. And we're good. And remember I was saying that I would want to rip that? Well, I'm just going to set it into place now, because if that doesn't interfere with the door opening, it's going to cover the track, and it'll look pretty smart in the end. Let's get that piece back. Pull out the So let's have a look. Let's set that back where it was. Let's see if the door's going to open. Yeah, the door's got lots of clearance. So let's brad nail that in while we're thinking about it. Got my brad nailers right here. Fully loaded. Stocked up. High. Every now and then you come across a tool, and when you finally get it, you say to yourself, how did I ever work without it? And this is one of those tools. When we bought our first brad nailer years ago, it was how did we ever do work without it? Because when we started out, we had basically just the hand tools that we had. And as we progressed and as we got more and more work, we ended up investing in tools. So we're at the point now where there's not many tools we don't have. Okay, we should put a pull knob in. we're going to do that too. There's one other piece that came here with this. There's a couple of pieces, and I'll explain what they are so that you don't get confused. One of them is this bent piece, and what this is designed to do is not to open the door, but it goes on the back side of this door so that it would sit out like so, so that when you're bringing two doors together, they actually interlock. So actually, let's take a walk and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I stepped into another room to show you a couple of pieces that came with the kit that I'm not going to be using on this door. One of them is this piece. So if you see this piece, it's got a special use, and it's used when you've got two closet doors. Here we installed two doors the other day. And down here, you see where we installed them, right? Right there. And it's used to keep the two doors together. See, you're actually looking at a mirror image from inside the closet. As the doors come together, those latches will steer the door so that they keep together, and that one door won't flop over the other door. It's just a security. The other piece I may or may not use is this. It's a spring inside of a clip, and this is where they are used. All they do is keep the tension on the door when the two doors are come together and are closed, so that when you open the door, the spring gives you that first initial little push, and that's demonstrate. The spring gives the door that little push it needs to get started opening, to make the openings. So back here on the door that we just installed, I'd be putting this spring right there in the end, so that this roller is going to bounce against the spring. Note to self, put doorknob on as soon as you can. So this piece, after all of that work, is just going to clip in like so and push it to the end. And let's see this thing working nice close up there. And now when you open the door, the spring helps to push the wheel away. Makes it easy. One more thing here to do before we call this door done, and that's to put a pull knob on it. When you're putting two doors together that are going to close together, look at that, I see a staple. Let's pull this staple out. This was holding the hardware in. One there, and there's one up there. Standard hardware that comes with it is pretty simple, pretty basic stuff. So what you're going to need for that is drill bit, yeah, that looks like a good size. What was I saying? Oh yeah, when you're putting two doors, you need to make sure that the doorknobs are actually side by on the same line, that they're level, they're plumbed, and all this good stuff. On a single door, you just put the knob wherever you want. So I've got my drill all set up, and I'm going to try and line it up in the center of the panel, and I'm just going to go straight through. from one side. Things are best accomplished when you're in the closet. And we're going to call that done. That was odd. Sure, everybody's going to be happy with that. One less thing to do. Okay, there's one thing that we missed here. Didn't notice it when I was filming. We didn't really see how this clips into the top. So let's have a look up here at the top. And this here, right there, that's the adjustment screw. And this adjustment screw is going to move the hinge pin back and forth along this track so that you can set this gap here. Okay? So this pin here, to release it, you just pop it down and it comes out. And if you pull it down again, you'll be able to slide it into that hole. Now this is after you've set it in the bottom. And then this roller here, same thing. It actually comes right out. And then you just pop it down, slide it in the track. And that's how it works. So I hope that clears up the rest of the job. Yeah, that's odd.